Hello, welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today we're gonna go full on gun nerd here, people. If you've seen some of my other videos dealing with firearms, you will know that I've been working on a Colt M4A1 SOPMOD Block II clone rifle. Been kind of working within the bounds of that aesthetic, building a rifle up. I've shown you various videos where I've been building that, giving different components, different accessories and things. I've enjoyed that rifle quite a bit. I've been shooting it, that carbine. But now it's time to go full on nerd, as I mentioned, and paint that rifle in a camo pattern. Now this is full on nerd because frankly, there's no practical reason at all for me to do this. I've seen other videos where people paint their carbines and they're like, well, depending on the time of year and where you're going to be operating, you need to make sure you have a camo design that matches those situations. When are you ever in the situation where you need to be hiding from people with your rifle? I understand that when shit hits the fan, that may be the case, but I really honestly don't think shit is ever going to hit the proverbial fan. So frankly, let's all just admit right now that the reason we paint our rifles is because it's frickin' awesome and it looks cool. That is the only reason. There is no real practical reason for us to do so. Let's just admit that right now. I think it looks cool, so that's why I'm going to do it. I'm going to be using the Brownells Aluma-Hyde for the most part for my base coats. These are an epoxy base paint, so they're supposedly a little more durable than your classic Krylon or Rust-Oleum. So we're going to be using these, and then maybe some of these Krylon colors. I've got like a sand, woodland light green. This is an olive. Oh, and the Brownells, I've got, I think the base coat is going to be Magpul Flat Dark Earth. We have an earth brown and an OD green. I've also got a just clear coat, a matte clear coat. Maybe gonna use that, maybe not. And of course, acetone. You need to clean all your parts beforehand to make sure the paint sticks. Now this is gonna be filmed over a long period of time because the Brownells takes quite a while to cure. So I'm not exactly sure how much of the process I'm going to be able to show you. We'll see. I'll probably cut a lot of it, just kind of show you clips here and there of me of doing the actual painting, and then at the end I'll show you the finished product, but that's going to be a couple weeks down the line probably until it's totally cured out and totally finished. And I've never painted a rifle before, so I'm going to be sort of experimenting, kind of figuring things out as I go along. But hopefully you will enjoy the ride, and hopefully it turns out okay and doesn't look like absolute crap when I'm finished. So let's take a look and get started right now. So here are the parts I'm planning on painting. I've done a bit of prep on all of these with my B5 System Enhanced SOPMOD stock. I just took the rubber butt pad off because usually there's not very good coverage on the rubber. I guess I'm gonna do my Aimpoint T2. I haven't totally decided if that's the case, but I covered up the clear viewing window on the lens cap on that side, and then, where is my camera? Covered up the dial numbers on this baby. On the AR itself, I'm not doing the rail. I like the color of the rail. I'm just gonna leave it as is. Didn't want to have to deal with the front sight post and the flash hider and everything, so I'm just covering all that up. Doing the upper and lower receiver along with the grip and everything, so I've just put tape where I need it, taped over the trigger, taped inside the mag well, and taped off the area for the peep sight in the rear and where you can actually see the hash marks, or not the hash marks, but wherever the windage adjustments are in the back. And then I shoved some paper towel through where the charging handle goes just to make sure nothing gets up in there. So that's pretty much dealt with. I'm going to be painting my Surefire, so I just covered up the bulb obviously, or the window, and then I'm going to be doing two different colors. So I don't know if this is actually going to take any paint because it's a rubbery plastic, but I'm going to try to paint this in a different color than I paint the actual Surefire light itself. So we're going to see how that works, and then just some various pieces of rail, charging handle. This is a CQD forward sling mount. So that's what I'm going to paint. I think what I'm going to do is do a really good, probably 3-coat base of the Magpul FDE on all the parts, and that'll be my base coat. That's the one I'm going to bake on. My plan is, I've read all sorts of different things on how you're supposed to use this Aluma-Hyde. Obviously you need to heat up the parts. You need to heat up the paint itself. It's supposed to be applied in 70 degrees and above ambient temperature. It's not anywhere near that now. It's one reason why I'm indoors. That's another thing. I've created a little indoor paint booth because it's too cold and wet outside, but hopefully this will not create a giant mess inside my home. So there's conflicting information, or I guess just all sorts of different ways I've seen people use the Brownells, where they heat up the parts and the paint. After each coat, they'll bake it, or sometimes they'll put on every coat and then bake the pieces, you know, the weapon in oven at like 100, 150 degrees for an hour afterwards. It takes a long time to cure. It takes over a week for the Brownells just to air cure completely, the Aluma-Hyde. I think if you bake it after you've painted it, it helps a little bit, but my plan is to put a really good base coat with this FDE, do maybe 3 or 4 coats of that, and then bake everything for a good hour or so. Then I will start doing the camo pattern with these other colors, and probably not use all of these. I'm not going to use all 6 colors. That's a little bit of overkill. Probably mostly use the Brownells stuff, maybe a little bit of the Krylon stuff, and, you know, let the paint flash off after every coat, after every color that I'm doing. And then at the end, bake the weapon again, or bake all the parts again for a good hour, and then put everything aside for a week before I, you know, kind of reassemble everything. And I think that'll give everything time enough to cure. And my plan is to have a really nice firm base coat of the Aluma-Hyde, so that if in the future I want to change the upper coats or respray, maybe the base coat will be strong enough to stay, which is kind of why I was thinking of just doing the Brownells and then putting the Krylon on top, which would be a little less durable, and maybe I could just wipe that down with acetone or whatever. But we'll see. We're kind of figuring it out as we go. All these parts also, as I prep them, I degrease them all, wash them all with acetone, rubbed everything out. So you need to get all the oil and grease out of there, especially on the receiver where, you know, you have your trigger pin and hammer pin and stuff. You're always going to have oil there. So you want to make sure you don't have any oil left. You need to wipe all that down with acetone. Some people use carburetor cleaner, brake cleaner, and just make sure you have a nice degreased surface. And then I've also cut out, I'm not sure how this is going to work. I've cut out some little pieces. I'm falling over. Just little stencils for some camo pattern kind of stuff. I really should have had larger pieces of paper because you have to worry about overspray. If you're spraying this pattern on, you don't want these sharp edges. So we'll have to kind of experiment with that, but just various little blotchy patterns and then little kidney bean patterns and stuff. We'll see what happens. This is a learning experience. We're going to figure it out as we go. So the first step is to bake some of these parts. I need to heat them up. It opens up the pores in the metal. It helps the paint adhere better to these parts. So I'm going to heat those up and also heat the Aluma-Hyde up, probably by just boiling some water and dropping the tin or the can of paint in there for just a few minutes. You don't want to make it explode. Okay, so I was heating up the rifle for a while. Also heated up the Brownells Aluma-Hyde as well. So now we will apply our first coat to this baby. One thing I failed to mention is that I also purchased extra nozzles for these in case they get plugged up. I read in several reviews that these can get plugged up pretty easily. So we want to do nice light coats. Let's see if this even works. There we go. We don't want to get crazy at all. We don't want it to run. We don't want it to gloop. And we're just going to turn it around. So that's going on pretty nice so far. You start spraying before you hit the thing that you are painting. That way you don't have these bad areas where the paint starts. You can get these kind of glooped up areas there. Not good. For a first coat, I might even be going a little too heavy on that, so I might pull it back a little bit. Oh, my makeshift little stand here isn't necessarily the most ergonomic thing in the world. got a little heavy there. All right, I'd call that one coat. Okay, now for some of the other little bits and pieces that we have here. We have our charging handle. And all of these, just gonna give a nice little spray. Should probably be wearing gloves while doing this, but whatever. That's what acetone's for. Okay, that's good enough for a first coat, I believe. Where's the lens? There we go. You don't want to go any heavier than that, probably. We'll probably do 2 or 3 coats on this. If I can lean it up somewhere where it won't get into trouble. You missed already the rifle. Fell off the stand at one point. Didn't seem to do anything to the finish though, which is surprising. But that was fun. Okay, let's get these little guys. Let's kind of hit them all at once maybe. Bits and pieces. These rail covers are basically already the exact same color, but I figured, you know what, it's not gonna, it doesn't seem to always match completely. The rails are, I guess technically the Magpul Flat Dark Earth, the same color that I'm using right now in the Aluma-Hyde. But I don't know, when you do plastic, when you do metal, it seems like nothing, that's never the exact same match. So I'm gonna hit it all anyway, just to get a nice even coat of everything. We still have our stock. Alrighty, now we still have the Surefire weapon light here, which I think I'm going to try to hit one time. I still haven't totally decided if I'm going to do my aim point. I think I will. I think I probably will. I will. I'll do it. Screw it. I'll do it. So there we go. We've got everything, including the Surefire weapon light. I guess we still haven't done the aim point yet, but everything but the aim point has one coat. Let me just hit this a little bit. Nooks and crannies. There we go. I'm gonna hang this up somewhere. And now, the fateful decision. Do I spray my brand new Aimpoint T2? I think I do. I think I'm gonna do it. Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's get this out of the way. Oh, I made the decision. There's no going back now. And there goes the resale. Now this thing is not spraying well right now. It's getting clogged or something. Don't want it to start splattering all over. All right, time for the second coat. One thing I neglected to do was to turn these knobs a little bit so I could get the other parts of them. I don't know if it's going to matter too much on this one, but obviously this one that's covered by the turrets up top, that might be an issue. So I might want to do that at the next coat that I put on here. I was only going to do 3. I may end up doing 4. Not totally sure yet. All right, gang, we have 3 coats on all the major pieces now. 3 coats of the Brownells Aluma-Hyde Magpul FDE. And now it is time to try to start doing the camo. I don't know for sure exactly how I'm going to proceed with this. I've already kind of done a little bit of experimentation. I've already done a little bit of experimentation on some of these little accessories here. Just putting some of the sand color on there. I'm going to probably continue with these just on their own. I reassembled all the other parts of the rifle because I want to get the camo pattern to kind of match up with the different pieces. So I had to bake everything again. I did about 45 minutes or so. It's still a little tacky, and I ended up getting a little fingerprint, just, I don't know, kind of in that area. You probably can't see it on camera, but it's not bad. I'm not really too worried about it being pristine or anything. But I think what I want to try to do is do maybe some larger areas of the sand and the brown and kind of see if I can sort of blend them together a little bit. I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen. And then I want to come over with the greens, and I'm probably going to use, I have this OD green Aluma-Hyde, and then I also have this olive in the Krylon, and they're very, very similar, so I may only use one of them, and I'm not sure exactly. In fact, I might do a little test spot of each. So this is the olive, pretty dark, and then the OD. See, this actually has a little more of an olive look than the OD does to me, so I think I might just use the OD green by Aluma-Hyde. But we'll figure that out. And then at the end, I'm probably going to put just a light dusting of the sand to kind of lighten everything up a bit and then kind of bring it all together, because it's going to look probably a bit crazy. So I've got these larger stencils here, and I'm going to try to just kind of, I don't know how I want to do this here. I've also got these ones. I think I'm going to use these with some of the greens, perhaps. You can't see any of this. And then I've got these little tiny ones that I'm going to put in some of the lighter green and maybe even come back over with some of the brown as well. We'll see. We'll figure out as we go along. I think that's looking kind of cool already. So we'll have to let that dry a little bit, and then we'll flip the rifle. Quite a bit of brown on that pass, but I think I'm okay with it. I'm liking it so far. I think it's looking pretty cool. All right, I think that's enough for the brown. I'm going to try a little OD green now. See how this works. Okay, pretty happy with that so far. All right, I think that does it for the larger stencils and for the OD green and for the earth brown. Then we're gonna come in with some of this lighter tan and where is this Krylon? This is the light woodland green Krylon here. And these are kind of bright colors, so we don't want too much of this on here. So that's why we're just gonna use these little baby stencils. So let's see what we can do. First of all, I think I wanna put the tan over top first, because then I'm gonna be coming over with a mist of tan later. So let's see. Ooh, that's very bright. I don't even know if I want to put this on here. Sparingly, very sparingly. We got a little bit there too. That'll work. Not too crazy. All right, I think that's it for the tan. Yikes. Not going to use this light woodland green. This is just too crazy. Look at this. It's too bright. It looks crazy. Well, here we go, gang. This is the finished product. This has been curing for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks now. And this is how she turned out. You missed a few steps, or actually just one step really. I ran out of storage in my memory card, so you didn't get to see me doing just kind of the light misting of the FDE at the end of it to kind of even out the pattern, kind of blend it all in a little bit. It ended up pretty muted, but I'm not too worried about that. I actually think it looks pretty good. I didn't want it to be too crazy and too bright. And then just some kind of procedural things that I did. I didn't end up actually putting any of this in the oven. I didn't have to bake it afterwards. All I did was I'd put one color on, and all I used was the Brownells, by the way. I didn't use any of the Krylon paints, just used Brownells. I would put one color on, you know, one side of the rifle. I would wait 15 minutes, let it flash off, and then I would put another color on, let that flash off till it was tacky. And then I basically just let it hang for almost a week, then put it aside. Before I had reassembled everything, put it aside, let it sit for over a week, because really, with this Brownells Aluma-Hyde, you really do need to let it cure out for the full amount of time, because even several days later, it might not feel tacky anymore, but even just your fingernail could rub that paint off After over a week of curing though, this is really, really strong. You can see I've done quite a bit of shooting with it, and there's a little bit here on the deflector, the brass deflector, a little bit of a rub out mark there where the brass, I mean, that's several hundred rounds just hitting that. That's all that's happened to it. There aren't really any other scratches or dings or rub off marks on the rifle so far. So I'm thinking this is going to be pretty damn durable. Things that I learned through doing this. Number one, do not put acetone on the clear lens cap of your Aimpoint Micro T2. I actually have a new clear lens cap on there because I didn't mean to, but I actually got a little bit of acetone on that lens cap when I was cleaning it, treating it beforehand, and it completely clouded up the plastic, made it horrible. The nice thing is that Aimpoint, all I had to do was write them, say, hey, can I buy a new lens cap cover or lens cap? And they just sent one to me for free. So that's the nice customer service for Aimpoint. Anything else? Definitely make sure you heat up the paint and the parts to at least, you know, you should be painting at around 70 degrees ambient temperature, and if you're not at that temperature, you really need to heat up the parts and the paint. It goes on so much better, so much easier. Definitely make sure if you're using the Brownells specifically that you have spare nozzles, paint nozzles, because they will clog up quickly and you're going to need to replace those fairly often. And yeah, just go slow, go light, be patient, and it should turn out okay. I'm pretty happy with how this looks. I think it looks pretty cool. So thanks for watching, guys. I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things, going complete nerd and painting a rifle. I'll see you guys later.